subjects. I teach, got it. I teach 6th grade math, science, and the AVID elective, which is who your pen pals are with. That's AVID stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. And that is a newer class for me. Last year was my first year as an AVID teacher. This is my first year facilitating letters to a pre-scientist. I see my students 5 days a week, depending on their period schedule, but the students that you write with are my 3rd period AVID students, and those students are also in my 1st period math class and in my 2nd period science class. Gosh, I could spend a long time talking about what inspired me to become a teacher, but a big part of that was my mom. Certainly, she is a teacher and had encouraged me in that direction when I was in college. But also in my later teen years, I had positive interactions just being involved in the life of youth. So I helped run summer camps. One of them was on an Air Force base in Florida, ran day camps for basically children for Air Force people. And I don't know if you remember the program Big Brothers of America, but I was a volunteer Big Brother when I was in college. And then I had helped run some other summer camps, and having those positive interactions with young people definitely influenced my decision to become a teacher. Some goals I have for my students. This is our 2nd year not teaching remotely, and academically compared to the students I have last year, I would say these students were really hit hard by learning loss. And so one of my goals is to do as much as I can to recover that. Sorry, that was the bell. And then, the other goal is just to build relational capacity with my students, to have those connections with them where they feel like my classroom, this school is a safe place, a place of belonging, where they can learn and grow. So that's me.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. So now we're going to do a brief little sort of introduction to you all. And whoops, sorry, I made the poll and then it disappeared. So maybe we're not going to do that. But if you all could just drop in the chat, like where you're coming from. There's not many of us, so it won't take long. Like, where are you calling in from? The US, like Eastern US, Western US, North America, but not the US, Central, South America, wherever you're coming from. You could drop that in the chat, that'd be cool. Okay, San Diego, Nebraska, cool. Philly, another San Diego, Washington, DC. I'm from that area. Norfolk, Virginia. I went to Norfolk State. Another DC, cool. From Puerto Rico, currently in Illinois. Awesome. Could you now just tell us how many years you've been a pen pal with LPS, or if it's your first year? We've had a lot of first year pen pals so far in my previous meet and greets. So cool, same here. A lot of first years, couple second years, awesome. Wow. And then do you work in science, tech, engineering, or math, or multiple? You can tell us if you work in multiple, but cool. I can't believe the poll just did me dirty and abandoned me, but thank you all for participating. Science, engineering, biotech, neuroscience PhD student. Shout out to all the ecologists. I'm an ecologist. Chemistry, awesome. Evolutionary bio, neuroscience, cell bio, awesome. Well, thank you all for sharing that information. Now we're just gonna kind of transition into a little bit of an interview style portion of this, where I'm just gonna ask Rob questions about his classroom, about the school and the community. And yeah, if you all have any questions that pop up, just put them in the chat or hold on to them. And during the Q&A, you can just raise your hand and share out and we'll get those answered for you. So Rob, could you just tell us a little bit about the community where your students live?
Well, I'm in a city, I teach in Baldwin Park, California. It's about 18 miles east of Los Angeles. really just right off of the 10 freeway. So my student population that's here, we are a Title I school, which means most of the students are at a certain level of poverty where they receive assistance with free or reduced lunch, things like that. I guess that census kind of information. We're predominantly, the students are Hispanic, about 70% Hispanic, and about 20% are Asian, and then the 10%, a lot of just different backgrounds. Baldwin Park, if you like In-N-Out Burger, it's the birthplace of In-N-Out Burger. So that's a claim to fame for the city here. Is there anything else I could tell you about where we're at?
No, that's very good. Thank you. So what's a typical day like for your students? Like when they come into your classroom, do you have a warm up? Do you give them some quiet time? Do you start with a question? What does that look like for you all?
So it would depend on the class, but I always try to be at the door when they come in, smiling and saying hello, so that they're greeted with a friendly face. I try to make a point of that too. If sometimes you have to discipline a child maybe the day before, so I always want that kid to see me smiling them and welcoming them back to class, so that they know that there's no grudges or anything like that, that we've moved on. So that would be a way I try to begin my class. But then apart from taking attendance, it could just depend. I may have different things on the board. If it was my math class, I usually have a page of focused notes that I've created that they're going to also work on, and there's some kind of a warm-up involved with that. But for science, I'll usually start with some kind of a review, something that we've been learning. We've taken notes on it. Just start asking questions and giving them time to talk to each other, just a few minutes for that. And then Avid is really that's my Avid elective is really wide open. I can kind of do whatever I want in this class, but the goal of the program is to really help prepare the kids for the future, to be ready for college, not just to go, but to be successful when they go, to help get them ready if they follow the program through, so that even if they're maybe C students right now, by the time they get to high school, they could start taking AP classes and thinking more about academics and college success. So it just depends on what we're doing in Avid that day. Lately, we've been working on letters to a pre-scientist. So yeah.
Awesome.
My classroom is a portable. All the other years, I've been in a brick and mortar building with a sink and plenty of storage space. I'll just flip it around, but my room's not too big. There's no sinks in here. The storage space is limited, so I have a lot of things in tubs and boxes. For the first several weeks of school, my air conditioner was broken. I ran back to school night in 100 degrees and it was miserable, but I was carrying a box from class to class using other teachers' prep periods. So I'm really just a week back into my classroom. I feel like I've only been in it for a week of the year at this point. Yeah.
Thank you. So how would you say that COVID has impacted both your students and how you teach?
Well, like I had mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of learning loss. So the students, at least when I look at my math data, I don't really have science data on my students. 70% of my students have showed up to 6th grade, according to the assessments I've given, 2 or more years below grade level. Some of them scoring as low as kinder. So that's been a challenge, because I am required to teach 6th grade math. I'm using some other support programs to run interventions. Days like today, Wednesday, it's all intervention for math, where we're trying to move down to lower grade levels of math curriculum to try to meet some of those needs. But the penmanship, those fine motor skills are, for a lot of the students, I'm not seeing it as much with my Avid students, but just my student population in general. It's rough. There's a lot of students this year that the writing looks like it's coming from a 1st or 2nd grader. Even the way some of them hold their pens, I see a lot of kids holding their pens like this. I'm not even sure how to correct it at this point. They've been doing it for so long, they resist that. I can try to encourage them, let's try it another way. But so there's been a lot of learning loss. They're not as independent when it comes to reading, so I have to try to find either resources in a native language, and I only speak English, but I'll try to find as many resources in Spanish to help support the reading. I try to provide thinking maps and things like that, visual ways of representing the learning, audio, video, anything where the reading can be supported, where they can follow along with the text and have it read to them as well. I have a bilingual aide in one of my classes, which is nice to have another adult in there to help. So those are some of the ways I've tried to help the students.
Thank you. So what topics will you be teaching on this year in your classroom? Or what topics will your AVID students be familiar with as they go through their science and math classes?
So they'll be doing a lot of, like with math, it's a lot of work with whole numbers, and that's really where we've decided as a grade level we want to focus our interventions. So a lot of works with numbers and operations, but they'll also have units on ratios, geometry, pre-algebra, statistics. Those will be the kinds of things that we're doing in math. For science, in some ways, I feel like the new science teacher. Being at the middle school as opposed to the elementary school, for one, there's been a shift in the curriculum for 6th grade. And last year was my first year teaching it. Prior to that, we kind of shared the load, and I wasn't teaching science at the elementary level, other than we had some earth science units. But for elementary teachers, we were really being held accountable for math, reading, and writing, and then you would split time with science and history. And at the middle school now, they have a full period for history, they have a full period for science. But right now we're looking at life science, we're looking at cells and cell structure and things like that. We'll be looking at weather, and we'll be looking at energy, and we'll be looking at climate and human impact on the environment as well. Those are some of the big topics we'll be studying in 6th grade.
Cool, thank you. So what's one of the top things that people don't know about 6th graders until you point it out to them?
Well, being new to the middle school, I think that the 7th and 8th grade teachers who have been here for years, they feel that the 6th grade are very immature. It's a new experience for the 6th grade, and I think they forget about that. These are kids that are used to really having a home teacher, and now they're thrust into a middle school campus where they might have 4 or 5 different teachers and schedule changes where they're moving from bell to bell. The grading is different. At the elementary school, the students were on a standards-based grading in our district where they would get a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1, whether they exceeded a standard, were proficient, close to proficient, or not proficient. And at the middle school, the students get an A, B, C, D, or F. And so I know on my end, I have to do a lot more grading. But I think that there might be an expectation that the 6th graders are going to know what the 7th and 8th graders know, and it takes some time for them to adjust to this new environment.
And what kind of things have you observed just with like social and emotional learning? I know that I'm sure COVID has impacted that as well, in addition to in classroom learning, but also that transition like you've been talking about between elementary and now being in middle school.
The relationships seem to be a bigger deal. I wasn't as aware of 6th grade students having boyfriends, girlfriends, or whatever, and they get to the middle school and that seems to be a bigger focus. Not that I'm comfortable with it, but there's like the potential for older kids to be interested in younger kids and things like that, like 8th grade versus 6th grade. But definitely the relationship thing seems to be more at the forefront. you see, I haven't identified any this year, but just in the last couple of years, more kids feeling helpless, emotionally, like mental health, in crisis, instances of self-harm and things like that. I feel like that's been more prevalent.
So what do kids talk about like in your class, like socially when they are having conversations? What are they excited about? Yeah, like what kind of things are just a big deal to them right now?
It could be school events. My Avid kids are pretty excited about this writing program because most of them have never written letters like this. But honestly, just regular kid stuff. They talk about social media, music that they like, things that are happening at school events, that sort of thing.
So what are the most important things that you want STEM professionals to know about being matched with your students?
I guess, like I said, they're excited about this. They're looking forward to hearing from you. When we started this program, you could just feel kind of an uptick of energy in the room, when we're doing LPS activities. So they're really looking forward to hearing from you.
Awesome, thank you. So what kind of advice do you hope that, or would you like to see in the letters from STEM professionals to your students?
If you can connect with some of what you're doing to maybe what a middle schooler could relate to, that would be good. I'm looking at kind of some of I have a list, but if you could print your letters, that would be helpful. I'm not sure that all of them could read in cursive. So that would be nice for them. I've not read all the letters, but I've scanned them, and at least for my teacher eyes, they're legible. So I think you're going to be able to read their letter. They're not perfect. There may be some grammar errors, but yeah.
Well, thank you, Rob. So now we have time for any questions from you all that you'd like to pose here. And again, you can drop them in the chat or just raise your hand, use the raise hand function, and we can start answering those. Yes, you have a raised hand.
Yeah, I raised my hand. I have a couple questions from what you were describing there. So first, that's my second year on this program. Really excited to participate with your school this time. So I'm a professor of geology, so earth science, but the interior, not the climate things. I know nothing about climate. So I have two questions. One is, you said that you were teaching an earth science module in elementary school. Is that correct? Oh, I managed to make him freeze.
Rob, can you still hear us?
He cut out.
Yeah, okay. So what I was, I saw your freeze also. I was just saying, you said you were teaching an earth science module at elementary school.
Yeah,
So
several years ago.
did they all take a module of that sort? The students that are currently in your AVID program? Do they
Pardon?
all have that type of experience in your program?
I can't vouch for what their fifth grade teachers might have given them.
Okay.
I can only comment, and again, I feel like I'm kind of new to teaching some of this, but for our unit, they're going to be learning about like the water cycle, water on Earth's surface, weather and climate. Those are some of the topics we'll be looking at in sixth grade. Yeah.
You don't do anything about earthquakes? I mean, you have a few earthquakes in your region, so I wonder if you don't do anything about that.
No, we used to. It used to be part of what we do. That might be another grade level, but not
Okay.
for sixth grade. But certainly, you don't have to relate your expertise to my curriculum or to what we're teaching, you can certainly, if they're asking, they're going to ask you about what you're learning,
Yeah.
like share away.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that I'm going to bring that up because I do actually study earthquakes in your region a bit, so that's something that may help. The other thing I was curious about, you said, so most of your students are Hispanic. That's great. I'm just wondering how is it their English? Because I don't speak any Spanish, so I
So
speak other languages, but not Spanish.
my AVID students are all fluent in English.
Okay,
So, yeah,
it shouldn't be a
yeah.
problem.
There's no they're in that particular class period. They're all fluent English speakers.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? Yeah. So in some of our other meet and greets, we had pen pals ask about like putting things in letters. So in case any of you were curious about that, I'll just wait actually, since we have questions. The first one says, for context, have you heard of any science specific interests that your students have?
Well, they generally seem to be interested in what we're learning. They're interested in cells right now. That's what we've been studying. And then they might express more interest in their letters to you.
And then also we match pairs of students with pen pals based on their interests. So whatever they mark as their interest, that field is what your area of expertise is, which you mark on your registration form. So you can kind of go into it thinking as though they're excited about the field of work that you do. So you can share about that. And then we have a question, are school counselors available to the students?
Yes, we have 2 school counselors. Sometimes the counselors call those students out, but students are able to request to see a counselor anytime.
Yeah, thank you
You
for
might
those
have asked
questions.
this, but how many people do you have in the program? How many students do you have?
My AVID class is my smallest class period. I only have 23 students.
Okay.
Yeah. My other classes run anywhere from 30 to 36.
Yeah, but I just wanted to make a comment about like letters and what things are fine to include. Students are just really excited about tangible objects in general. First off, there's no obligation to do anything other than write a letter. But even if you work at a company or a school and there's a bunch of stickers or pens, yeah, anything like that, students get really excited to have those kinds of things. Anything that looks like it was professionally printed, students tend to be like, oh, what's that? So feel free to include any of that kind of thing, any company or school merch.
One of my students asked, I can't remember who, one of them asked if they were allowed to send stuff. And I think it would be within the same spirit of like, can they send a sticker or and I don't know if they'd want to send a pen, but I wasn't certain.
Yeah, students, we ask that they don't provide like a picture of their face, like, or anything identifying, but if they want to share a photo of their dog or send stickers. When I was a pen pal in 2020, my pen pal actually sent me a sticker of an astronaut dunking a basketball, well, a planet that looked like a ball, because I played basketball in college. So yeah, they can send stickers, they can send little gizmos and things too. And yeah, we had some questions from other STEM professionals who like 3D print things, and they're allowed to do that. We just asked if it's like glass or something that'll break, or, just let us know in advance so we can let the teacher know and make sure that they don't, have any accidents, things like that. So, yeah. Do we have any more questions, comments, concerns? Okay, if not, then I have one more question for you, Rob. And that's, what do you think the impact of LPS will be in your classroom?
Well, it's a good question. At first, it's a gives them a great purpose for writing. You know, like they have an audience. They don't know you, but they are starting to feel like they're getting to know you through the, I guess we call it a trading card. You know, where they learned a little bit about you and your likes and interests. I hope that they can see like future opportunity for themselves. That's what I hope they're going to get out of that. You know, that they're going to see there's possibilities out there for them to pursue a STEM profession that maybe they hadn't considered. And then the other thing is just having a positive interaction with another adult. You know, I think that's a good thing for them.
Awesome, thank you. Well, thank you all for taking the time to come today. I'm also going to quickly plug our Discord server for STEM professionals to join. There's already a lot of activity there. There's like close to 400 people there. And we have channels just dedicated to like connecting at conferences, like who's located in the same area. We have some people who decided that they want to do like letter writing parties to their pen pals. We have like a job opportunities and fellowship scholarship channel where people just post, you know, openings for things, positions, all of those kind of things that they find. So it's looking like it's developing into a really cool networking workspace. So feel free to join that. Yeah, let me know if you want the link, even though it should be in the email. Yes, I can actually drop it right now while I'm thinking about it. If you just give me a second. But yeah, it's a cool space. There's a lot going on there. And we're making improvements as we speak. So. Great. But yeah, thank you all for taking the time out to join us here today. Rob, you're mailing your letters out this week, right? So
that's the goal. The letters are written, and now I just need to have them address the envelopes. But we have I got caught up in some school business this week. That's like third period. There's certain things that they're like, you got to cover these. It's district stuff, digital citizenship type lesson. So I'm spending the next 3 days through Thursday covering that. So I'm hoping to get everything done and put in the mailbox on Friday.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so be looking out for mail in the next week or so from your pen pal. That'll be awesome. Well, thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.